Hi, and welcome to FrazlCast. Climb aboard the GNOME train.
Chugga, 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 chugga.
Please make sure to keep your limbs and experimental instruments inside the train at all times. And now, on with the show.
A podcast by a Blizzard fan gnome about World of Warcraft and geeky stuff. I promise you, they do talk about the World of Warcraft. They just go off the rails sometimes.
You've entered bonus level time. So I'm Frazly, and I am joined by the Beat Saber Master, the DDR champion, the princess in another castle saving. I'm not calling him a princess, but he saved princess in another castle. CTR officer, the podcaster, streamer, and a wonder of the Blizzard and geek world, Barfolomew, bonus level Casey.
You are too generous. That's way too many titles. I don't have that many titles. Thank you for having me on, Fraz. This is going to be a lot of fun. I can tell already.
I've always enjoyed watching you, and I remember I had fun on Epic the podcast. Just like, I need to have Casey on. You're always so full of charisma and this peace and calm, and I'm always full of frazzleness and stuff like that. And I think it was Pete today said that when I'm doing the iron, I get so panicked that I start healing myself. I'm like, but Casey would just be, yeah, here we go. So on this episode, I want to get to know you better, and I want to kind of hear more about you. I've got questions lined up, but before we get into all that, though, Epic Insanity, what time is it?
It's time to go around the table.
Great idea. So what have you been up to recently?
What's been up with me recently? Well, about a month ago, Silverbolt from the Convert to Raid community and, from the internet at large, moved from her apartment in Chicago to my house in southern New Jersey. It was about a 15-hour drive, all things considered. We had to load the cats up in the car and figure out the moving van and all that. Only minor property damage associated with the moving van, which I feel is an accomplishment on my part.
Yes.
But it's been about a month since that happened, and I tell you, man, it's been a busy month. Before that all went down, I told my stream audience, hey guys, I'm probably going to be off for 2 weeks or so. And that was a month and change ago. I feel bad that I just haven't done any broadcasts since then besides the podcast, but it's just been busy. The studio is still only half finished. Half finished is kind of generous. The studio is 20% finished. We were just talking before we went live that we've got a bunch of really cool Warcraft figurines and memorabilia and posters and all that kind of jazz that's going to go up on the back wall after we figure out exactly how the camera is going to be and where the microphone boom is going to go and all that nonsense. It's been busy as far as the whole figuring out what life looks like now that we're doing this crazy thing.
I love seeing the tweets of the dogs and the cats like trying to figure out each other, and the one scene where in Silver's office, it's the cats are just staring out the window and the dog's there too. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, our pets now are just absolute sweethearts. They're the best. The dog is the friendliest dog I've ever met, ever. The cats, they're a little stressed, I think, maybe about the move, and that's presenting in a little bit of weird cat behavior. But generally speaking, they're really, really cool. And yeah, man, we set up, she works from home now because she used to travel to an office in Chicago or just outside of, it was an hour and a half commute each way to go to work for her.
Yikes.
And now that she's here, technically speaking, her home office is up in Connecticut or something like that. She has but she's only up there I don't think she hasn't been up there yet since she's moved here. But the agreement on file and everything is that her office is basically going to be here, and then she'll have to commute to go to some sites around the East Coast every now and again. But primarily she's here. Well, it's a 3-bedroom house. The front bedroom is now just an office. It's got these 2 6-foot workbench tables in it that are in an L shape that mostly are taken up by dog beds, and also she's got her computer on there, so she's got all these pet beds that are everywhere, and the cats and the dog are he literally climbs up on top of the table that's at waist height and lays on the table and looks out the window and across the street is an elementary school, so he's watching the kids walking up and down the sidewalk and all that. They're in hog heaven. They get to look out the windows and see the people. They hang out over here just off camera. There's a big cat tree right alongside a window that looks out into the yard. And they sit here and they look at the squirrels and the birds. They're just absorbed in the life of looking out. And yeah, they're getting along just fine, I think.
That's awesome. If I understand right, you had a dog and a cat?
My house is a little bit weird in that when we first moved into this house, it was when I was still living with my parents. My parents and my sister and I moved into here because this house, the money was right, like to buy the house, like it was just the right price at the right time. And the location was right because it was right next door to my grandmother's house. The house that my grandmother was in for my whole life is about 75 feet past my fingertip as I point behind me. Like it's right there. We moved in here because it was really advantageous to live so close to grandma because she was getting on in age and her health was starting to become the sort of thing where like she would need assistance every once in a while. It wasn't anything big, especially not at first, but it was like, she needs help with the groceries or something simple like that, whatever. And then as time went on, her health started to deteriorate. And eventually she ended up, she passed away 2 years ago, something to that effect, 3 years ago, maybe now. And my parents inherited her house. So they moved next door. And the arrangement here was that basically my rent would be property taxes and utility bills. So I was like, I'll take that deal all day long.
Yeah.
My parents have 2 dogs. And we share a yard with a fence that runs through it, but there's a gate in the fence. So I don't have any pets, but occasionally there are pets in my house that just wandered in. Like that was the situation. And I was like, I don't know, man, if Silver's moving in and she's got these 3 animals, we can't have like the open yard policy anymore. So that my mother's dogs, Roxanne and Eugene, haven't been over recently, but they're also super friendly. Silver's dog, his name's Tucker.
Yes.
Tucker and Roxanne and Eugene haven't met yet, just because we've been busy and we wanted to introduce all the animals off site because we felt that Roxanne and Eugene might consider this place to still be their territory and we didn't want territorial problems to happen.
Yeah.
So we figured if everybody was out at the park on a walk together and that was nice and everybody's friends. Okay, let's go back to the house and things will be okay. So that's kind of the battle plan here. We just haven't enacted it yet.
I'm reminded of when we adopted my niece and nephew, and we took my niece down to Guatemala when we picked them up, and the niece is enjoying her brother until she realized, oh, he's coming back with us. And then her mind went like, okay. And then we had that territory for a little bit.
Things were cordial until things suddenly were not cordial. Yeah,
yes,
I've been down that road.
But now, for the most part, I mean, they're in the teenage years, so there's the normal sibling rivalry, but they are living together and stuff like that. It's like Ali saying, it's cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. It's and then I see that you've been in a game of not animals in a storm, but heroes in a storm.
Yeah, man. They dropped Anduin on us, and I'm telling you, it's right up my alley. I get him. I like his talents make sense. I really haven't done a whole lot of variation in my talent build really, but the build that I've been going down is, I don't know, I feel good when I'm playing him. I feel like I'm in control of what's going on around me. I feel like if I'm in trouble, I can stay far enough away from the action so that I don't really get jumped necessarily, but when I do, I feel like I've got ways to, especially in late game when I have a way to kind of sprint sort of, I've got ways to get myself out of trouble. But I'll tell you what, they gave Anduin Leap of Faith. They gave him Life Grip, which for those familiar with Heroes of the Storm parlance, it gives the target of the spell unstoppable, which means if my friendly tank or a DPS gets in too deep or something's bad, and also he's locked down by some kind of crowd control, none of that matters. If I'm in range, I can still pull him out to safety. And I can't tell you how many like fantastic life grips I've been able to pull off. You know, the DPS is going to die and I grab them from the other side of a wall and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea this was great. And we all run away together into the sunset. It just feels good to pull it off right. It really does.
Is that similar to like when the priests in WoW pull you in the dungeon?
Yeah, it's the same spell.
Okay.
But like it also frees you of like if you're stunned or if you're like caught in a crowd control of some kind, the spell doesn't care. It'll still pull you out of there.
That's awesome.
It's great. I did it aggressively once, and that was really exciting. We were chasing that. We had the advantage, and we were chasing down somebody. And one of the DPS on our team was Sergeant Hammer, which, if you're familiar with Heroes of the Storm, Sergeant Hammer has a very powerful auto attack and a really big range, but she doesn't move very well. So the whole party got way out ahead of Hammer, and the fight got outside of Hammer's range. So I life gripped her forward to get her deeper into the fight so she could keep shooting. And we ended up getting a kill out of it. I felt like a champ because everyone was like, oh, aggressive life grip. Who's even seen this before? It was killer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And then I see that you have some favorite podcasts.
Yeah. So, I mean, I saw the list on like, what have you been up to recently? So I was like, I better make some notes, man, because I know he's going to ask.
Oh, absolutely.
I've been listening to a lot of a D&D show that Frog Pants has put together called There Will Be Dungeons. I'm sure that if you guys are frog pantsers, frog tadpoles, I forget what y'all are called. They put on a really great show, and I got to the end of it, or up to current on it, and then just flat out started re-listening to it. I'm so hooked on D&D content right now. I got into a little bit of Critical Role, which is the other really big one that's out there right now, but like there's so much to that. That's a really big game. Like that's been going on for a long time. And it's that commitment of time that like I really got to dedicate myself to. It's not just that it's a really big game, but it's got a lot of players, and like Matt Mercer is such a big personality, and so is like Laura Bailey, and all these players who are in it are just these big names that each of them have this big personality, and there's just so much content to consume that it's actually a little bit intimidating to get into it at the ground level.
Yeah.
But I've been on such a D&D kick recently. I've made a bunch of characters that I've never played. I've only actually had the opportunity to sit down and play at one table. And I know you were talking about Epic Fail earlier, and I know you're familiar with Draven. Draven Dresden was very kind enough to bring me and a bunch of rubber chickens, mostly, to his table to play a game that was supposed to be a one-shot that ended up being like 6 or 7 nights. And we never did finish it. It was like that long. But that was a ton of fun, man. I was playing a monk. And since then, I've made paladins, I've made clerics, I've made like all these characters that I'm like, oh, this will be really fun to play. And I just haven't had a chance to really, I haven't found another table to sit at yet.
I'm going to guess to find a new D&D group. You never know. At BlizzCon, you may find that group there, because I hear that you've got tickets.
Yeah, man. Silver was lucky enough to have gotten, it was the first day that tickets went on sale, the first round of sales. She was home that day. I think I was out at work, or maybe I was on my way back from work. That was a Saturday, right? Was that a Saturday afternoon?
Yes, the first wave, and then the wave 2 was Wednesday night.
Right. Okay. So then I was on my way home from work that day, and I got in and I sit down. She was telling me that like, yeah, so the way it worked is you kind of got put into this thing, and then I was in line, and then there's all this stuff happened, and then suddenly I was just buying tickets. And I went, wait a minute, we have tickets? And she says, oh yeah, man, we got I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. It was that easy. I don't know what the general experience has been because I didn't research it. I literally was like, I got mine, so I'm good. I don't have to worry about what the market looks like because she was here and she did the thing and got them.
I think it's been pretty positive. I know a few people said that there was a possibility that some people got it who kind of did some magic with the CSS. I mean, got around the countdown rule.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's cheating.
And then there's also the reselling. So just like the JoJo Siwa tickets, people have been selling these tickets at a high price. So like one I think I saw was like $20,000 what you could buy because the new system allows reselling.
Right. So the system allows for reselling, but what's Blizzard's stance on that? Because they always kind of were in this position where, yeah, man, you can resell your ticket. That's fine. Sell it at face value like a proper community member or else. Like that kind of was always the flavor of it.
I'm going to guess that it's one of those unwritten rules that they encourage you not to do it, but because of the system, they can't enforce that. I mean, which is kind of sad.
Ugh, that's kind of a stinker.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Just like the reselling of the 15th anniversary CEs, it's been one of those not so nice parts I've been hearing on different things.
Do you think that they're going to do more of those?
I'm hoping, because I've seen them popping up today on like Amazon and Best Buy and GameStop. I know Allie got one today. They're starting to come out there. I'm hoping that it's not just a limited one, and this would be the worst CE, in my opinion, for them to be limited. If they're realizing what the people are wanting for Classic and they're realizing all this stuff, I'm hoping that they're just waiting to hear about that one shipment. And it could also be that just like Nintendo, this could be a contrived hype up, but also make sure that there's the demand for it and then release all the stuff.
Yeah, I understand the concept of an artificial sort of scarcity of a product to really drive up hype and excitement and demand for it. But I mean, the audience is really, really big, and the audience that would purchase this stuff is really, really big. So like, fine, make it scarce, but make it less scarce than that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it should be a special thing that you got for sure. But like, I kind of want one. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. I'd say it's, if it wasn't for Classic coming out, I mean, if it was just an expansion CE, I could kind of see it because I hear like there's still some BFA CEs that are on shelves. There's also been a demand in the community for more bonus level streams.
You are absolutely the king of transitions. Can I call you out on this? Can we expose the fourth wall for only a moment? You've really been nailing it so far on those transitions, man. Yeah, so like I said in the top of the show, I kind of stopped doing shows when it came time for moving day and all this. I was like, oh yeah, I'll take like 2 weeks off just to get everything sort of lined. No, much longer than that. We've been talking about what the new stream schedule might look like. I have some ideas in mind for things that I kind of feel comfortable with. The trouble is I'm a banker and I work typically like 9 to 5, maybe 9 to 6. Like on Thursdays and Fridays, the bank is open a little later. And I work roughly half of all Saturdays. We're on like a skeleton crew for a half a day on Saturday. Like we're only open for a little while. My work schedule is very consistent, but I work about 20, maybe 25 minutes away from my home as the crow flies. But like in the middle of rush hour traffic, it can be an hour.
Yeah.
And by the time I get home, get changed, eat dinner, sit down and do 2 or 3 hours of streaming, I've got no time to be at home. I woke up, I spent 8 hours at work. I came home and did 2 or 3 hours of streaming after an hour of commute. Like the day is finished and it's bedtime. And that's not something that I'm really willing to do anymore. That was something that I could have done, back when I was living with my parents, and I used to work right around the corner here at a mom and pop pool shop that I worked much less hours at, and the hours were more flexible. Like sometimes there were second shifts and all that. And also, like, I didn't have, when you're in a relationship, you want to do relationship things. Like you can't have date night if you were at work all day, you came home and played video games for 2 or 3 hours because you're supposed to. Like, you got to stick to the schedule. I'm a big proponent of sticking to the schedule.
Yeah.
But the schedule has to meet all of the requirements that you have in your life of being fulfilled as a human being. Like, you got to still be an organism. You got to buy groceries, and you got to do family things, and you got to do all that stuff. So like the show kind of has to come last out of all of those things, and finding the right spot to put it has been the struggle. But I'm pretty sure I've got something that's, it's kind of close. We're going to talk about it a couple more times and see like where things line up and how rigid we have to be and all that jazz. The other thing is the previous schedule had a lot of weekend shows in it. If the weekends are the time that she and I are both off, that's the time that we're going to want to go out and do things.
Yeah.
We're looking more at weekday shows, and during the week, there's not as much time, you know what I mean? So there's all those sort of considerations that we've been sort of fighting through. I say that not to say that we've been arguing about it. That's not the case, but we're fighting the reality of like, how do we schedule all this and make it work right for us?
Yeah, I definitely realize that my schedule for all the stuff I do, I'm single, so I don't have to do any of that, but I know the second I enter into a relationship, it's going to have to change. I mean, just a few things I'm going to have to modify things. I mean, one of the 17,000 shows I do might have to go into a bi-weekly. I mean, things will have to change, and it's always interesting trying to dance around that and trying to find that dance of how much streaming do I do, how much podcasting I do. But another place where you like to dance. Yeah, all those transitions. You can thank Dorse the Goblin and different people for encouraging me to be a show host and moving things along. But yeah, I do the transitions, and I try to be as awkward as I can sometimes.
No. This is great. I'm loving it.
You are a DDR and Beat Saber master.
No.
Oh, you're not?
Not true at all. I am a Beat Saber. Okay, I could see myself potentially being good at this ist, and I am a DDR failure. I'll tell you straight out, I can't play that game. I'm bad at playing that game. I play that game and come close to hurting myself most of the times I try to play it, which is really difficult for me because she's got these two, I don't know, man, regulation size, whatever they are. They're metal arrow platforms. They plug in via USB into a laptop that she's running Windows 7 on because the program doesn't work on Windows 10. And she's like, it's fine. This dinosaur doesn't have to be connected to the internet. We're just playing DDR on it. So we hook up these two big pads and we HDMI it into the television that I've got, one of the TVs that I've got. I got it set it up, and it's downstairs, so it's on a floor that doesn't shake, right? Like if you're on a wood floor or something, or carpeting or something, there's a little bit of give to it. No, basement's concrete, baby. It doesn't move nothing. We set these things up, and she's doing this like hard, like she's spinning around so she can't even see the screen, and she's hitting notes that are bananas. And I'm like, okay, I'll do the easy one, where it's like 1 foot at a time. And then I still am almost falling off the darn thing. Then this past Friday, we went over to my sister's and my brother-in-law's house. These clowns have a PS4 with the VR headset thing. They're rocking Beat Saber. And I'm like, oh, I've never played that game, but I always thought it looked cool. I shouldn't have played it. I'll tell you straight out, I shouldn't have played it because now I have to get it. I've got to get this thing, man. And I've been told by, I forget who told me. It was probably Kara, that, or maybe Squinty, that I'm now required to do rhythm dance music games on Twitch. So that's probably something that'll end up happening. I also have a Guitar Hero guitar somewhere. So maybe we'll have like a rhythm day where we're just DDR and Beat Saber and Guitar Hero, and it'll just be a thing.
Nice.
I could totally see doing that like one Sunday just as a wild, crazy, hey, we don't usually stream now, but we're streaming because we're playing the crazy games. The trick is going to be the technical aspect, like figuring out how to get it all on camera.
Yeah.
Because right now I'm about 50 feet away from, she's actually, I can hear it. You guys probably can't hear it through the mic, but I can actually hear it on the other side of the house. She's playing it right now.
Nice.
But it's through the kitchen, downstairs, through the game room, and into the next room after that. So it's a ways away. So I don't know how to, and all the streaming stuff is here. So I don't know how to get it all set up to work right, but we'll figure it out. It'll happen eventually.
To quote Jeff Goldblum, life finds a way. Or no, wait, that's more Beavis and Butthead, not Jeff Goldblum.
Life finds a way.
That was perfect, man. I'm glad to have you on. You nailed the quotes. I'm doing the noise.
Well, so we've been talking nonstop about all the crap that I've been into the last couple of weeks. Fraz, what have you been into recently?
Well, Emily Prokop of the Story Behind podcast was talking about this documentary on Netflix, and I am a sucker for documentaries on Netflix. I mean, just Netflix, it sucks me in. So as a banker, I think you might enjoy this. It's called The Perfect Bid. Do you remember a couple years ago, Terry Nice or Ness, who had the perfect Showcase Showdown number, like down to the dollar?
No, I don't remember that.
It was one of those, like, they were all trying to make sure that someone had not hacked the Price is Right, or that nothing had happened with the Showcase Showdown. Well, it turns out that Terry Nice was taking all the credit for it. I should have written his name down, but there was actually somebody else who for years had been watching the Price is Right, copying down every product, every variation. And this documentary goes into that. And it was just fascinating because, one, you get to hear like the Price is Right music, you get to see behind the scenes of the show, and you get to see Bob Barker. But then you hear about this, I'm like, wow, they have the time to do all that.
It's the math behind the super cheat of the Showcase Showdown.
Yeah, he didn't technically cheat. He watched the show and wrote it all down. He just had a brilliant mind. I mean, it was one of those. I wish I had that brain because nope.
Oh my god.
Oh, and I mean, because sometimes you can call me the village idiot, and I actually was playing a game on. So I played with some friends this past Saturday using Tabletop Simulator, and we played Exploding Kittens, which is fantastic. If you've never used Tabletop, I love that you can be around a table on Discord, and you can play any game. Like they've done Pandemic, we did Exploding Kittens, and then we also played Werewolf. And Werewolf's kind of like Mafia.
Is Werewolf the one where like some of you are villagers and some of you are lawmen and some of you are werewolves, and you have to like, okay, you're the we have the gang, and you have to pick like who actually it is?
Yes.
Yeah, I've played that on paper. I didn't know that they had it on Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah, apparently there's not like one official werewolf, but like people may have made things, and in Tabletop Simulator, someone made up all of the different cards and all of the different hero clicks and all that. Mm-hmm. And one of them is the village idiot. I was the troublemaker at one point, and boy, that was fun. I'm not good at lying, so so it was funny that people were like, okay, you're not good at lying, but are you trying to? And I won a few times actually, so people called my bluff, but I was intentionally making them call my bluff so that way. So maybe actually I am better.
I don't know, man. It sounds like you played them to me.
Maybe I am a maniac. Then, speaking of being a maniac, I'm a file maniac. Tom of 3 Extra Lives. If you love indie games,
yeah,
3 Extra Lives is a weekly podcast, and they go over different indie games. They brought up a game called File Maniac. In that game, you're actually playing the game, but you're modifying the game code. So like one is there's a door you can't get to. You actually delete door.cfg, and the door disappears. They've only have one episode so far, but it's a free game on itch.io, and it was fun. But I've also been playing WoW, so it's not just all these other games. So in WoW, Michael Tyrion Shaman, core like is now 113. So trying to get up to the 120 to have 4 120s. I'm not raiding, but I'm doing ults and crazy things. And I'm also killing off irons. I have my 3rd iron. I only started my iron tunes 2 weeks ago. My 3rd iron is a dwarf paladin named Dorf, and they're halfway to 21, and they're questing Westfall. Only one close call with the Murloc.
Well, yeah, those Murlocs are slippery, man. They're tricky.
Oh, they are.
They'll get you.
And Allie, I almost got killed by a neutral crab. Gotta watch out for those neutral crabs.
Just the beach crabs, just like the critters.
Yeah, it was like the sand crawler. I AoE stuff. I was like, uh-oh.
Are there certain Iron Man classes that are harder to play than others, and where does Paladin fall in that?
I would definitely say there are. Like, I've played a warrior for my first one, not even thinking about what the warriors could do. I had to stop after every fight. If I got more than one mob, I was toast, and that's actually how I died the first time, because the first one was 2 spiders in Redridge that killed me. With the Paladin, you can heal yourself, and if you go prot, I would say it's probably one of the easier ones. I went Paladin because somebody suggested it. Allie went Paladin. I was like, Paladin sounds good. I would say Mage is probably one of the hardest ones because you're squishy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was streaming last night and we were doing the Iron. Somebody hopped into Discord voice chat and said, hey, do you want to run a legacy raid? Capo, Leo Woud, and Velicella, we all ran ICC for Transmog and a chance at Invincible. It didn't drop unless I didn't see it. I mean, but that...
No, that's not the sort of thing that drops quietly.
I was on my Hunter, so I could have overlooked it. Michael and I have been leveling gnomes in the Genome Project every week. Low Cuz up to 45, so Eastern Plaguelands. With all this stuff, I want to know about your gaming history.
I don't know. My memories don't go back that far. I literally don't remember a time before I could at least sit down and play an NES. My parents must have got me one when I was a youngling. Like, I remember Christmases and getting plastic boxes to put the carts in to like keep them safe. I remember my mom breaking out the old typewriter to make little cutouts with like nicely typed codes on them for all the Game Genie cheating I used to do. And she like made me like this nice cheat sheet for all of my codes. I remember when I was really young, our basement was set up as a den or like a rec room. And I remember the TV that was on there. We just had the NES. Eventually, I think I was 7 and my parents got me an SNES and they got me Link to the Past and, you know, Super Mario Kart. And then like that started to grow. And it's easy to say I spent entirely too much time playing games. And I think my parents probably would have had a problem with the amount of gaming I did when I was very young if it wasn't for the fact that I was also involved in Boy Scouts and I was also out, like I was going camping all the time. And I was, you know, I would try sports and then decide I didn't like them after I tried them, like that sort of thing. They were like, hey, he's out doing stuff. You know, he's playing hockey in the driveway with the kid across the street. And then later he'll come in and either decide to play video games or read something or whatever. Like, it was varied. Like, it wasn't only video games all the time. It was the one thing I did more consistently than anything else, which was why when I finally kind of got my own space, I kind of went bananas with it. And I did like the shelves of all the stupid, like the plushies, like everything from plushies that I had gotten from Nintendo Power to the Pokeballs from the, there you go, with the stuffed raptor. Wow. I can't remember what that one was called.
Yeah.
I've seen him out there.
I like to play with these on stream.
Yeah. We shall call it your grave. And then there, you know, the little Pokeballs from like they had a Burger King or a McDonald's promotion or something with the little cards in them and like all that crap that I had collected out the years. I went, you know what? It's not in the closet anymore. It's going to go up on the shelves, and like it made it everything nice. So I kind of went a little haywire when I finally sort of established my own space. The answer to your question, how did I get into gaming? My parents bought me an NES and ruined me.
Nice. First press of the start button, you're gone. Because that's definitely interesting. Because I remember like I got my gaming from watching my sisters play games.
Mm-hmm.
I got their SNES when they went off to college. So my parents, they didn't really mind me playing games. There was a lot of stuff going on with like work and stuff like that. I was a Cup Scout dropout. So I didn't like earn my game time. I just played games. So I'm probably a little less rounded. And
what are you talking about, man? You're a successful broadcaster. You picked up all kinds of great skills along the way.
So it was good for something. Good. I definitely like Linking to the Past. That's a great game. And I see that you do a lot of retro games. Plus, you have an extensive collection of consoles and merchandise. I've seen like the tweet of like your new entertainment system with all the consoles hooked up.
Yeah,
that looks incredible. If retro isn't your favorite style, what is your favorite style of game?
I kind of found my niche in streaming, doing a lot of retro stuff, not exclusively, but like a lot of retro stuff. Actually, the reason for that was when I first started, the first game I ever streamed at all, I think, was a fan mod of Portal 2 called Aperture Tag. Instead of using the portal gun, it was a paint gun, and it shot the blue paint and the orange paint. And there were portals in the room that you had to like use to solve the puzzles, but primarily you would use the paint from Portal 2. I found this, and I think that was the first thing I streamed. But I was so focused on the puzzles that I didn't talk much. I realized you have to be one of two things if you're going to be a streamer. You have to be really, really skilled so that your audience comes and watches you play the thing that you're really skilled at. Or you have to be an entertaining person. Like if you're the number one Dota 2 player on the planet, you can be silent as a tomb and people will come and watch you because you're just crushing it.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm not that for any game I've ever played. So my thought was, all right, if I'm going to play the game, I need to play something that I can split my focus on playing the game well enough that I'm not embarrassing myself, but also focusing on chat and being able to be conversational. And because that's kind of the streamer I wanted to be when I first started. And I realized that the easy answer to that is to just play the games that I've already played a million times. I don't have to focus on playing it well because I already know how to do it. If I'm ever out of things to talk about, I can talk about my impressions of what's happening in the game. If I'm playing Link to the Past for probably the millionth time, I can talk about, if you go over here, there's this thing is happening. And this character he says this, which references something that happens in another game. This is the first time that they ever introduce this song into the Zelda score and the overall soundtrack of the game. And it reoccurs in like 6 other Zelda games. Like you can talk about that when you're out of things to talk about because you're knowledgeable about the game and you don't have to focus hard on it. And that was my strat going into the whole like, maybe I'll just be the Mario and Zelda guy. That's what I'll play. After I sort of got my feet wet and got a little bit practiced and started to learn kind of how to do that, that was when I started branching out and playing games that I hadn't played yet before, including some retro games. I've played a couple of point-and-click adventure games. I didn't grow up playing those things. Some of them were brilliant the entire way through. Some of them were really, really difficult and had these crazy puzzles. And I'm like, me and the chat are just sitting here pulling our hair out. Like, what are we supposed to do? I don't understand. Do I have to rub the mayonnaise on the parrot? I don't know what to do. That's kind of where that sort of all came from. I really, really do like the retro style, like the retro aesthetic with the and even like new games that pretend to be retro, like Celeste is the first one that comes to mind, or Stardew Valley, or games like those. The artists that make the games go out of their way to give it that aesthetic, but still make it feel really good. They feel nice. It's just this, like, it's simple. It's not fighting to be the number one best looking game that's ever been made, and therefore it can focus more on gameplay. Although the beautiful games also have incredible gameplay. Like, don't get me wrong. There's just something about the aesthetic that's really pleasing to me. Generally speaking, I'll play anything though. The only games I don't go out of my way to play are like sports games. I only play like a couple of shooters, but not really. I'm not really a shooters person. And I really don't care much for like turn-based RPGs. RPGs in general are fine. I understand like stats and leveling and all that jazz. I still haven't played Kingdom Hearts 3. I got to go out and get Kingdom Hearts 3 now that I have a PS4. But I played like the Kingdom Hearts games on stream, and those were fine because their story is weird and the characters are weird. You just mash X and you just kill the monsters. It's fine. But generally speaking, turn-based RPGs, they're too slow and there's like nothing to talk about during combat. It's like, okay, I just use the same spell I use every turn. Okay, let's go. And we kill the thing. Then we get to the place and then a cool story beat happens, and then that's really exciting. And then we have to go from here to the next place. And okay, I just keep killing slimes, cast fireball, do whatever I have to do. Like, so there's like nothing to do. There's nothing to talk about. So I don't really care for those kind of games. But outside of that, really, I'll play most games.
Interestingly, mayonnaise it keeps your hair healthy. It treats the skin. It keeps the heart healthy. Mayonnaise can keep your skin soft. It can keep the lungs healthy. I looked up 15 benefits of mayonnaise while you talk about putting mayonnaise on a parrot. I was just curious if that actually would do anything good.
The mayonnaise bit is a meme inside joke thing out of my show. Squinty Eyes was kind enough to donate Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. It's a LucasArts point and click, which comes with all of the things that LucasArts point and clicks come with. It was really well made. In the beginning, I wasn't picking up on the puzzles at all. You were supposed to get the parrot to tell you the name of the book. That's what you had to do. I know that doesn't matter. That's what you had to do. But I couldn't get him to do it because I wasn't fully putting all the pieces together. In the very beginning of the game, I found a jar of mayonnaise. And I know when you have items in your inventory in point and clicks, it's because you need them later. but it's never super clear about what you actually need the item for. Sometimes the tambourine you got, it's because you have to shake it at the rattlesnake. There's always nonsense things that happen in these games. There's a point and click called Toonstruck, where you have to poison a buzzard or a vulture or something and take its feather and bring it to the barn and use the feather to induce tickle torture on a cow who's really into that sort of thing. I'm talking about like this barn is done up like a dungeon. I'm not kidding. You know who the star of that game was? Christopher Lloyd.
Wow, that sounds like 50 Shades of Moo.
Yeah, you have pictured the scene appropriately.
I find that so amusing.
I'm proud of you. Thank you for this. I'm so happy to be your friend.
Me too.
We couldn't figure out what to do with the mayonnaise for like hours. We had no clue what to do with the mayonnaise. Finally, as it turns out, what you're supposed to do with the mayonnaise is there's a hole in the ceiling and there's a statue off to the side, and the statue is too heavy to drag across the floor. So you're supposed to rub the mayonnaise on the floor and drag the statue across the mayonnaise. And everyone in the audience, I was like jumping out of my seat because we finally figured out what to do with the mayonnaise. So since then, it's always been use mayonnaise on this. We just joke about the mayonnaise. The subscriber exclusive channel in my Discord is called Use Mayonnaise on Subs.
I've seen that. Okay,
that's the reason for the mayonnaise joke.
Wow.
Dude, anybody who's a regular in my channel, I'll tell you about the mayonnaise.
Along with that being one of my favorite stories, what are some of your favorite games?
Like I said, my bread and butter for years was Nintendo. My absolute favorite game has to be The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo. I adore that game. I feel like it has its flaws here and there. It's just extraordinary. It's a work of art. And the music and the colors and everything is just perfect.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oof, so good. I'm also a huge fan of, obviously, the Super Mario Brothers series. I feel like when you nail it, it's hard to improve on it.
Yeah.
They really did a great job with Mario 1, but then they put out Mario 3, and I always felt like Mario 3 was like the gold standard. Like, if you can hit what they did with Mario 3, you can make a good Mario game. And a couple of Mario games have done that since then. They've just, like, whatever the formula is, whatever the perfect combination of things, they just nailed it. But Mario 3 was the first time for me that they just really crushed it. And that game is like really, really special to me. I also really, really love Yoshi's Island for the Super Nintendo. Mario World 2, that game is gorgeous. If you're not familiar with it, you need to go play it. The whole game looks like it's done in crayon. That's the art style. It's very juvenile, very childish. It's got this crayon sort of aesthetic to it. And it's got a wonderful soundtrack, and the audio work on it is tremendous. The annoying Mario crying noise, it's annoying. From an audio design standpoint, they said, we need to figure out a way to invoke a specific reaction in our players, a sense of urgency, but also like, we got to hurry up because it's important, but we also got to hurry up because this noise is bothering me. They really nailed it on that too. Like, there's just some of those old like Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, they whatever the mixture was of timing and technology and game feel and all that stuff just came together to create something really, really special. And obviously, of course, I mean, we all know each other through Blizzard, so I have to give big ups to Warcraft. I play HOTS all the time. Like, just Blizzard games in general are just something special. They get their own honorable mention kind of regardless of what the conversation is. If we're talking about good video games,
yeah,
they just deserve the list. They're just there.
Oh, I know. I mean, so many of the games are just amazing. How did you get into Blizzard / World of Warcraft?
I was primarily a console gamer up until college. And right around the beginning of my collegiate career, I was actively looking for a game that met certain little things. And I'm going to describe the game I'm looking for, and you're going to go, oh, it sounds like you're looking for Warcraft. I wanted a game that, was very social, a game that you had like that online multiplayer component, but it was a space where you could like meet people and have conversations and have friendships and like be that. Because I had played Halo, I had played like online games. You get in via matchmaker, you get called a bad word, you shoot some people in the face, and then you get out, and there's no real human interaction to be had there. I wanted something bigger than that. I wanted like a big world to explore. I wanted to run into people out in the world. And I went to a bunch of game stores and described that to people, and they went, yeah, man, you just want Warcraft. You're looking too hard for something that's right in front of you. Just play Warcraft. I don't want to play that game with the orcs and the elves and the stuff, man. I want to play something cool. I want to play something gritty because I'm 19 and I'm cool. No, that's stupid. Then South Park put out their Make Love Not Warcraft episode, And I watched it and I went, this is literally what I was looking for. All the kids in town had that meeting where they were like, oh, we're going to meet here and we're going to do this thing. And we're all going to be at our computers, at our houses, but we're going to be in together in the game world. And then it happened. And I went, that's literally what I want to do. That was the thing. That's the thing I wanted. So I went out and bought the thing, went over to my buddy's house and gave him like the free month code because they came with those in the box. I don't know if they still do, but back in the day, you could like give a friend a free month or something. So he installs it on his. We leveled a couple of Alliance characters to like, I don't know, 20, 25, something like that. And then his cousin goes, oh, you guys are playing Warcraft? You should re-roll Horde on my server. I'll get you into my guild, set you all up. Be nice. We played on Echo Isles Alliance for a little while. Then we played on Spinebreaker Horde from the beginning of Burning Crusade until the middle of Mists of Pandaria. And that was when I had been listening to The Instance and Convert to Raid and Blizzard Watch, which they were WoW Insider at the time. I'd been listening to all these podcasts, and then Pat and Colt and all them were like, we're going to create a guild. It's going to be Alliance. It's going to be over here on Airy Peak. You guys, if you're fans of the show, you should come out and check it out. So I rolled a dwarf, I think, which I don't know why I did that. Dwarves are a great race. Don't get me wrong. I think dwarves are really cool. The lore is really great. I can't play them because I think they look funny. They just do, man. Like their animations are weird and they run like this. Like I just can't do it, man. They're wonderful people. I just can't put myself in that weird body. I can't do it.
And that's why you went gnome, right?
I do have a gnome. I have a, she's a 110, I think, gnome Death Knight.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, she's a Frost DK and she is bloodthirsty, let me tell you. She's got the pink hair and she's got that blue. It was an epic sword that came out of Malagos, and it was this blue, icy looking big one-hander. Remember the one I'm talking about?
I'm going to guess Allie knows the name.
It's probably like Hailstorm or Icicle or something like that. It probably has a name like that. But I got a couple of them, man, and I just like it's 4 times the size of her silly little body, and it just feels good to murder people when you're a little tiny little thing.
Yeah. No one expects a gnomish imposition.
That's when I rolled my first CTR character, and I got into, back before it was CTR Shah, I think was the first one. They called it CTR 1, and then there were CTR 2 and 3, and then they had to change the names of the guilds because people were like arguing with each other about which guild was the best guild. Like, nah, we can't have that.
Yeah.
So it was the middle of Mists is about when I got into it for the first time, and then toward the end of Mists, I was so in love with what was happening there because my guild had like 6, 7, 8 people in it, and our server had like 36 people in it total. Like there was never anything, nothing was going on, man. It was a barren on that server. And then I roll an Alliance tune on Airy Peak. I wander my butt into Stormwind, and here's all of these folks just playing the way it used to be, the way I remembered it when it was crowded outside. And I went, oh, this is where I got to go. This is it. Guild chat was always running. There was always stuff going on. I transferred. My human paladin, Barfolomew, was originally a blood elf paladin named Derelict from Zoolander. When I transferred to Airy Peak, Derelict was taken. Some monster out there has my paladin's name on our server. So I went, all right, I got to figure this out. So I switched to Barfolomew because I'm such a big fan of Spaceballs, and Mel Brooks is a fantastic filmmaker. So that was what I did there. And then it's been CTR ever since.
So definitely Galleon is the best guild. I bet you can attest to that under the CTR.
Galleon is the home of the Rubber Chicken Coalition team. None of my main characters are in that guild, but it doesn't really matter because all 10 guilds are one guild anyway. So it's not like it's, there's no real competition between the guilds. It's just we're all one big silly group.
Yeah, we are family. So what led you to being a guild officer of CTR?
Before I was a banker, my previous place of employment was, like I said before, a small mom and pop pool store right around the corner from here. In the real height of summer, I was working all the time and I didn't have any time to do anything else and all that. But then in the early spring and in the late fall, before opening season and after closing season, it was dead in there and I had nothing to do. And my hours were limited. And then Christmas would pick up and we would do Christmas trees and like Christmas decorations and all that was part of the business model just to stay in business for another couple of months. And then the actual winter season would hit January through the end of March, beginning of April would come around, and there would be literally no work whatsoever. Like I would go on unemployment for 3 or 4 months out of the year, each year when I was working at that job. So I had a ton of time on my hands, and I was sitting around in Storm Shield. That was where I remember I had a conversation with Ursangus, who at the time was the officer in charge of the welcoming committee, the greeters in Convert to Raid, the group that does the guild invites and handles the CTR LFO channel and all that. He was a friend of mine he used to tank for the Rubber Chicken Coalition back in Mists. He was tanking for Siege of Orgrimmar at least, if not more than that. I forget exactly how long he was with the group. But we were friends, and I saw him in guild talking about how he needed officers. So I went to him and I said, hey man, listen, I've got all this free time on my hands, and I know how to tell people welcome to the guild. So if you want me, I'll do it. He's like, all right, yeah, sure, cool. It was a pretty easy conversation, and I ended up getting an officership. And then on April 1st, 2017, that clown messages me and says, listen, I'm sort of looking to step down from my position, and I was wondering if you wanted to take over for me. And I went, yeah, right, Bear Meat. Okay. Yeah, I have a calendar too, you guy. I know what's up. He says, no, dude, I'm serious. I recognize that it's April 1st, and I'm sorry that today is the day I messaged you about it. But yeah, I am serious. I'm looking to do this. So do you want to take over for that? So that's how I got into being the chairperson for the welcoming committee. Basically, what that means is I'm the guy that when we need more officers to handle the CTR LFO channel, and when we need to figure out like, oh, how are things going, and do we have to like make policy changes, and we have to do all that sort of thing, are there things above that level of officership that need handling? A lot of the time I'll be the person who does that. Right now, running the guild, basically, Pat's the guild leader. I'm handling the greeters. Turarts, I know, is running guild events. We have another couple of people at that same level. I'm trying to remember who everybody is. I'm sure I'm going to forget somebody, and I super feel bad about it. Ash and Echelon are raid liaisons, and they're making sure that each of the guild teams is in a good way, and making sure that like we don't have 16 teams in one guild and 0 teams in another guild. Like they handle that sort of thing. There's a lot of guild bank stuff going on now because each of the teams, not every team in the guild, but any team that had applied for one and had had a discussion with the officers about it, there are some teams that have access to the guild bank for their own team use. So there's those kind of things that they handle. Oh, shoot. I know Navox is doing a ton of stuff behind the scenes as far as website stuff. He gets to it a lot faster than I do. Some days I don't know how he gets to them as fast as he does. I would love to do more of that sort of thing, like the things that he does, but I can't answer a website ticket at 12:30 if I'm at work. You know, like I can't do it. But there's a lot of that sort of stuff that goes on. I think Nevar is running raid team events. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Pretty sure I have that right. But that's what the sort of Iron Council Major Domo group of Convert to Raid looks like. And then under them are all of the event planners, all of the greeters, all of the sort of boots on the ground, like making sure that the players have a point of contact, making sure that the players are taken care of as far as like, hey, I'm having trouble with this small issue. Oh, okay, cool. I can help you with that. I can get you into the guild. I can give you the link to the Discord. Ooh, that one's a little big for me. I can't really handle that, but I can pass it on to Bar for Navox or somebody who can help you a little bit better with it. So all that's how like the officership of the guild is kind of structured. It's really great because it kind of feels like a small town, right? Like where there's a mayor and there's different committees that are handling different things in the town. Like it's a nice way to put together a guild. Because like where I'm from, you had a guild leader who was sometimes also the raid leader, and then maybe one other officer, and then there was nothing else to do. Like because there wasn't the population there like we have. But as many people as we have, you need a robust officer team. The thing I feel the worst about is I really haven't been around all that much recently, what with the move and everything else, that, you know, I kind of feel like I'm not pulling my weight some days because of all this stuff that these guys are always doing and they're doing such a great job at it. And I'm like, I haven't logged in like a week and a half. I hope the place is still there. I feel really bad about it some days.
That's one thing I've always been impressed with CTR is the size, but also like the newsletter, the Discord, the town hall meetings. I wasn't able to attend the last one, but I listened to it. It is nice that everyone's looking out for each other and everyone's trying to make sure things get done. And that's one reason why I joined CTR was knowing there's a lot of opportunity. Through it, I was able to find the podcasting channel, but I knew that if I had to step back from doing, even as a guild member, I wasn't going to let anybody down by the fact that I wasn't able to do certain things. So all the work that all of you do does not go unnoticed. I don't see half the stuff that goes on and all the tea that's being spilled in the officer channel and stuff like that. I don't see all that stuff. And I'm thankful. I want to be a greeter, just not yet. The reason I'm not rating it.
I gotta be honest, man. Like, I kind of expected when I came into it originally that with the size of the guild, the amount of like nonsense drama crap that the officers would put up with would be really high. It really isn't. I was very surprised. It's very smooth. The community is very self-policing. Everyone in the community is aware, pretty much everybody is aware that it's a family-friendly guild, and this is what that means. Like, we do this, this, and this, and we don't do that, that, and that. And when somebody comes in and rocks the boat, it's not even the officers who respond most of the time. Somebody will come in and just act not the way that the guild tries to maintain. And the guild itself will go, hey, man, not here. That's not how we are. Doesn't even require officer intervention like most of the time.
Wow.
Things are smooth in that way. So it's really, really, occasionally something kind of rough will happen, and that's going to happen in a population our size, but
yeah,
much less frequently than I expected, which I think is a testament to what they put together when they first built the place and what we've been trying to, like, when you bring in quality people, you get a quality group, and quality groups don't have kooky nonsense in it.
No.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
It makes it easy.
And it's a good role model. And there are definitely quality people in the group. And that's why I always love every Monday night tuning into a podcast that you host called The Converted. How did you get into podcasting? Because you do a great job on it. I mean, I'm always amazed that it's a well-oiled podcast. I mean, it's done in an hour.
I will pass on your kind words to Sal, who is the person who makes that happen. I basically just hit the start button and read the things off the page that Sal types up for us. She organizes the guests and organizes like what topics we're going to talk about. And then the combination of Sal and Turarts are incredible at keeping us on task and keeping us focused, because you're right, we're trying to stay inside of that 1 hour mark. Both of them are constantly like, well, let's bring it back to that thing that we were talking about a second ago, and they'll lead into the next topic in a really nice way. And I'm the kind of guy that I'll just keep rambling forever. We're probably going to go overtime today. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
It's just because I just don't stop talking when it comes. So I deliberately kind of sit on it a little bit because I know that we're trying to like keep things moving along. But really, if you're happy with the pace of the show, it's them. It's 100% them. Sal for writing the thing, and T and Sal for keeping us on task. As far as what got me into podcasting, the very first show I was ever on as a guest was the Game Case show with Cuddles. He was kind enough to bring me on when there was either an expansion coming out or a patch coming out or something. And I saw a tweet go out saying, hey, we need a guest for tomorrow night's show. Does anyone know anything about this thing that's about to happen? And I said, yeah, I know something. And he was like, all right, cool. You're the guest. And I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. That's what this is? But it was a fun show. We had a nice time. Kind of got a feel for it. Wasn't too long after that Sal approached me and said we needed, basically, that was when Cuddles was stepping back from the Converted, and they said we need an engineer. We need somebody who has the capability to set up the stream itself with the overlay and the start button and all that crap. You know, if you can be there consistently and you can have that ready to go when it comes time to go, and if you want to be the guy, we'd like you to be the guy. Really, me? And oh yeah, well, you know, and she said, like, seen your stream, seen how you handle yourself, seen how you are with the guild. Like, it just seems like it's the right fit. So if you want to do that, we want you in. So that was really like, it's not that I approached them, or it's not like it was something that I was like jumping headfirst into doing, because like I always considered myself, I still, like, people say that I'm a podcaster, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I am a podcaster because I host a podcast. I don't think of it that way. I'm always thinking about what the stream looks like rather than the fact that it's an audio show that goes out to iTunes. Like, it doesn't happen up in my brain. But it's fun, man. It's so much fun. I've met so many people through the Converted. One of them's in the other room. It's been a really incredible experience. And I don't know what I would do without it. It's the best.
I always love the guest, and it helps me understand guests better. I mean, I was telling somebody out of the game saying, hey, I'm in this guild, and this guild has somebody that raids while their father is driving their truck across the country.
He was at BlizzCon. Sal was like, oh, you got to come over here, because remember, he was on the show. I'm like, oh, you were on the show. And it's just, it creates that, like, oh yeah, we can all just hang out together and chat because we were already friends because we did this thing.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that guy raids in a truck. It's incredible.
I guess maybe streaming might be a hard thing to do in a truck because it takes a lot more bandwidth to stream than just to play a game. I one time tried to stream while driving. Where were we driving to? But we were driving somewhere, and I tried, and like
with the Streamlabs app or something.
Yeah, I was trying with Streamlabs, and like was trying to stream WoW, and I got into WoW, But then as soon as I turned into the stream, WoW crashed because it just.
What were you playing WoW on?
It was a MacBook, so it might work better on the PC. But I think I was maxing out the actual card's bandwidth because my brother was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?"
Oh, like it was the Wi-Fi in the car. Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you need good bandwidth and Wi-Fi for streams. But how did you get into streaming? Because I don't think you've streamed in the car yet.
No, I've never done a car stream. I first started when I was just starting to learn kind of what streaming was, and I knew a couple people who were doing it, and I enjoyed watching their programs. And then I kind of explored Twitch a little bit. I was also tangentially familiar with Justin TV back before Twitch was a thing, but I didn't really know a ton about how it all worked, what all went into it. I realized that this was something similar to what I was looking for when I first started playing WoW, which was like this weird community experience that's like based around games, but games aren't necessarily the focus the whole time. Sometimes it's the community that's the focus and all that sort of thing. When I saw that streaming can provide that, and I started to get familiar with some streamers who were doing it for like an audience of 3, and then some other streamers who were doing it for an audience of like 4,000. So I was like, oh, these are what these different shows kind of look like and all that. I kind of just gave it a shot to see if I would like it. Just because, I mean, I already had a cheap, crappy webcam and like a little desk mic that picked up everything in the world. Every bang of my wrist on the desk and every keyboard click and everything. It was a bad mic. And what I realized was streaming the game made me focus on it in a way that I didn't normally focus on games. I tend to be the kind of guy who has the game on and also Netflix, right? And I'm like half here and half there, and I'm not fully focused on anything. But if I'm playing a game for the stream, I kind of have to be eyes on the prize. Not because I have to be the best player I have to be, but because if you stop talking, you don't maintain an audience, right? And like if I have a small audience or a non-existent audience, which is what happens when you're when you're starting, you don't, unless you already have a name, you can't just fire up Twitch and expect an audience to just wander in off the street, right? Like that doesn't happen. The way it happens is they come in. If you are entertaining in the first few seconds, they stay. And if not, they bounce. If you recognize that you don't have anybody in your audience and you accept that as fact, and then you don't have any commentary about what you're doing, you're just sitting there like a bump and you're playing the game and you're like you're looking and you're not, it's just a guy on the screen walking, you'll keep that audience member for like 4 seconds, 5 seconds, and then they bounce. 10 seconds if they're being generous, but they don't stay. So what I realized I needed to do was keep talking, but I ran out of things to talk about. So I would talk about the game I was playing and talk about how it doesn't matter what it is you say, just as long as you've got something to contribute. I already had an audience by the time I was playing Wind Waker, but for some reason, Wind Waker was the first game that came to mind. So I would talk about how I really liked the way that when the wind is a very important part of the game, and the way they demonstrate what way the wind is blowing is with these little things, and that's really nice. And isn't the coloring really great on the thing? And the way they have these buildings lined up, it hides the fact that there's something behind here, so let's go check behind here to see if there's anything cool. Oh, you know what, I just had an idea, I think we have to go back over here and try this. And just saying what you're doing out loud is enough to keep the engine running, so that the next time something actually of importance comes up, it's not like you're sitting there quietly and then suddenly you say, so I'm thinking maybe this, and it just comes out of nowhere, like it doesn't feel good. So the consistency in speech had to come from somewhere, and I decided it had to come from the game I was playing, because I had, if you don't have an audience to feed off of and have their chat to interact with, you have to create your own content.
Yeah.
And when I got focused on the game in the way that I was, and I was deliberately looking for things that I wouldn't normally look through in a casual playthrough of just sitting on the couch, it changed the way I play the game. I would decide it might be entertaining to do this challenge that I normally would walk right past. And then I'll play it for like 20 minutes and I'm like, oh, I'm getting really close. I think I can do this. Turns out it's a really nice challenge that they put into the game that was totally optional, that I never would have played if I had just wandered past it, because I didn't have anybody to impress or I didn't have anybody to entertain. It changes the way you address the game. And I realized that I liked that, and that I wanted to replay a lot of the games that I had enjoyed from my youth and see if there was new things in there that I had never caught, experience new games that would come out with a group of people who could be as excited about things as I am.
Yeah.
Like the most recent Mario game I was playing was Yoshi's Crafted World.
Oh.
And that game is gorgeous. All the little fishies in the back are made out of plates. And I'm like, oh, look, it's crayons. That crab is made out of a paper cup. Ah, it's so cute. And my audience is going, it's so cute. And they're feeding off of me and I'm feeding off of them and the excitement builds. You're playing a one-player game, but your friend's there sitting on the couch talking about how stupid that guy looks and you should go get him. That's the chat room right there.
Yeah.
Like that's all it is. It's the same social experience. It's just online instead of in person.
Streaming's helped me try to work on that commentary. It's helped me with extemporaneous speak. It is that thing that like I turn off viewer counts that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good practice.
Because then if no one's there, I act like someone's there. Because then I find out that someone's lurking, actually never said anything, but they're there and they're like, oh, I remember when you did that. And I was like,
yep.
Where were you?
Mm-hmm. Dude, and I'm guilty of it, man. I'm like king lurker. I barely ever chat in chat. And like these chats are like super interesting. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what the answer to that question is. And I'm watching the streamer and I'm like totally engaged. Hands off the keyboard. I don't know what it is. It's not part of my viewer experience. And because I know that about myself, I also know that it's true of lots of other people.
Yeah.
Because I figure I'm weird, but I can't be that weird. Like I can't be the only idiot who's watching Twitch and not chatting. You got to provide that person the same thing that you would provide the guy that's said 60 things in the last 3 minutes. Like it's just, you gotta.
Are you talking about me when I am in the converted chat and I'm talking?
I love a chatty chat. Don't get me wrong, man. Like I feed off of it. Like it gives me that energy to like have a new thing to talk about or like, oh, you know what? That reminds me of a story. And I'll tell a story for like 15 minutes and just go off about some random nonsense. It does give energy, but equally you're still there to entertain the guy that logs in and says nothing.
Yeah. You want to have something that's going to make them feel good and kind of maybe you're the best thing that's happened to them that day.
Yeah, that's true. Like I'm not sitting here saying that's like, oh yeah, oh listen, they line up at the door and they tell me about how crappy their day was and how great it is. But like that's egotistical and nonsensical that like you shouldn't. But I think as streamers, we've all either had someone say that to us directly or have seen it said to a streamer on air. Yeah, like listen, been a really bad day, but at least I get to watch King's Quest 6 with my favorite streamer. It's true. People say that. Yeah.
I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've had people say, and it always blows me back. I'm like, I don't see myself as anything more than just a gamer.
None of us ever do. And if you do, I don't know. If you think you're God's gift of video games, maybe,
yeah. Because at that point you let your ego get to you. And that's why I'm glad that my weaknesses, they temper my ego. And I'm glad for that. I'm glad that I don't ever want to be that, like, I'm the best there ever was. And I got to catch them all.
You know what? I just was railing against turn-based RPGs, but we haven't played Pokemon. That might have to be a thing. I might play some Pokemon someday. That'd be fun.
You're getting a amazing Pokemon game on a Switch real soon.
Yeah, I haven't done very much research onto any of the new Pokemon stuff that's come out recently, but I'm given to understand that the Switch one's supposed to be really special.
Oh, absolutely. And the temptation is, I'm that close to buying a Switch. And for audio listeners,
it's got like an inch.
Yes.
On them fingers.
I'm almost there. And I've got big hands, so maybe it's closer than it looks. It's like those mirrors. So what would you say is the best things that have happened to you since you started?
Started a relationship over it. Literally. Silver and I met through World of Warcraft. Originally, she set up a group in the Discord, in the CTR Discord, that is, called Azeroth Photo Explorers.
Yes.
Which was simply, this is going to be like, take cool screenshots, and we're going to be like a screenshot sharing community where like we got like these cool landscapes or this cool battle scene or whatever. Like take the screenshots and share them with everybody. We want to see your cool pics. So I jumped into that because I thought that was really fun. And we had like a 3-sentence conversation at that point. Nothing really else from that. And then right before BlizzCon 2017, she guested on The Converted. And that was our first like real conversation, but it was kind of structured and formal the way like an interview is. Like I had questions to ask and then we moved on, and then that's another thing. It was that interaction on the show that led her to, because I went into the Discord and I said, I still have extra room to sleep some people for, I had like 2 rooms for BlizzCon in 2017. My sister used to work for a hotel chain and I got a pretty good deal on rooms. So I got 2 rooms, figuring I'll sleep a bunch of my friends there and we'll all be a big group. And I didn't quite fill the rooms. So I went into the Discord and I said, I've got some extra beds. I need to put bodies in them. who needs a space for BlizzCon. She already had a room, but because like we had talked on the Converted and she was like, oh, they'll be really fun to hang out with, she canceled that room and joined ours. And then as a function of being roommates at BlizzCon, we were hanging out together all week for the convention. Like we were really, really, really far forward in line for the opening ceremonies, both last year and in 2017. And we stopped and got hot breakfasts on the way. So we stopped at IHOP and got pancakes and then walked at like 4 a.m. to the front of the convention center, sat our butts down on the asphalt and ate hot pancakes and bacon and stuff while the crowd formed around us. And then by the time we stood up, we had a bunch of angry faces looking at us because we got a nice breakfast and all they had was a cold sandwich and a cup of coffee. And meanwhile, there's a mile of people going that way. And then, like I say, just as a function of being roommates, we spent a lot of time together at BlizzCon. And by the end of BlizzCon and after the end of Disneyland, you know, we had kind of started to hit it off. About 3 weeks or so go by of us chatting online and then through text. And then we decided, you know what, why don't we try this long distance thing? That could be fun. And then it was that New Year's that she flew to Jersey for New Year's Eve. And we went to a couple of friends of mine had rented out a house out in Cape May. She flew here. And then we drove out to Cape May to the party house and we spent New Year's together. And that was like our first, actually, technically speaking, our first date was Cuddles hosted it and didn't realize. He hosted a movie night for his viewers and we sat in on the movie night and we watched Die Hard. And as far as we're concerned, that was our first date, which all happened because she guessed it on the Converted and Sal and T and Ash were kind enough to bring me onto that show. The reason that happened was because I got into streaming. And the reason that happened was because I felt like I knew people from CTR community. Like it all wraps together in this whole crazy big thing. And then we've been together for a year and 5 months or so since then.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like, what more could you ask for out of, hey, I've got a crappy mic and a little webcam and I'm going to try this thing in this video game that everyone says is for nerds. Like, how do you beat that?
I love the one thing starts the next. And I've loved seeing the hashtag Barfolomew. Your relationship has been one of those that I've loved seeing. And it's always made me smile to see those pictures. This is what the gaming at its core is. This is what makes communities like Blizzard and CTR so amazing, is these communities. And these are those success stories. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course. I talk about it every chance I get. I got to brag, right?
I have told friends that I've got friends who have met in games. I mean, so like I tell people about your story because I'm like, I'm trying to remember when I've heard about you two getting together. I was like, yes. What I loved is I remember Silver being so excited about going to BlizzCon. It's being so excited about going to the first one. And I was just like they were unsure about going. And finding out that BlizzCon changed their life, I was like, that makes it awesome. And if anybody is nervous about going to BlizzCon, don't be, because there are amazing people there. And I bet the Rubber Chickens and CTR would be glad to hang out with you.
Oh, absolutely. How about hanging out with you? Are you going to be there in 2019?
Not 2019, but I'm hoping for 2020. I made a few upgrades and just some different financial stuff. Mm-hmm. My BlizzCon budget went down. Yeah,
no, that's what happens. And it's not easy. I'll tell you that much. Like it's like saving up that money and setting things aside and making the plans. And it's tough.
Yeah.
It was always one of those things where like in 2017, the first time I went, we got to the hotel and put our bags away. I ran into, who all was there that first day? Shoot, I don't even remember who all was there the very first day. My plane was delayed, so my room was waiting for me to get there to check us in because they got there before me and they couldn't get the key. So then we did that, and then we went into the Hilton lobby bar area, and we walked right up to this big group of CTR people who were hanging out in these big couch chair things that they have in there. And the instant I walked up to that, I had this sort of trepidation about going out on my own, because when you go with a friend or a couple of friends or a significant other or something, they're obligated to hang out with you if no one else will, you know, like you always have a fallback where you can that at least somebody's there with you. But when you go solo, you either pick up a social group while you're there or you wander around the convention by yourself all week. And I walked up to where the CTR people were and I instantly lost that sense of nervousness because everyone was like, oh, it's you. You're here. All right, cool. Become part of the group. We're talking about this thing, and then we're going to go over there and do this other thing. It was instant. It was like, oh, yep, you're here. All right, great. You're part of the group. Let's do it. Everyone is so welcoming and everyone is so friendly. Everyone's looking out for each other, which is really, really great. Like when you go to these big conventions, you always got to make sure that like safety is very important.
Yeah.
I can't speak for other groups, but I can say that in our group, I felt very comfortable. I know that lots of the people who we were with felt like because we were all together and looking out for each other, that things were like going well. It's nice. Like you get to keep that. I know I don't have to sell it to you, just as nice as anybody else. But for anyone who's on the fence and is wondering whether or not, I would say give it a shot because it worked out pretty good for me.
For me, I'm sold at just the cost on my side, but
yeah,
I love seeing all the stories, and I'm cheering for people like I want to see Ali and Mr. Ali. They're going this year, so I can't wait for them to meet the two of you.
That'll be great. I'm looking forward to it.
I want a selfie of all four of you. So.
Oh yeah, oh dude, it's selfie time for sure. Absolutely. And actually, you know what? You got to hold my feet to the fire on that one because I'm not great at being the cameraman.
Me either.
My father's a total shutterbug. Silver's always taking photos of everything, but like I don't pull my phone out to better experience the things around me. I pull my phone out to get away from the stuff around me. Like I'm always looking at Twitter or Discord, like trying to find out if I have 2 minutes and I start to get bored and my mind starts to wander, I'll pull out Twitter, but I don't pull my phone out to take photos. Rarely ever. I'm super, super bad at being the photo guy. I guess I gotta just rely on her for that. She's got a better phone anyway. Her camera's nicer. I'll just make her do it. But yeah, I want all that. I just don't do it myself. So it's one of those things where like I gotta do it better.
Yeah, I'm always looking at my phone like I should have taken a picture there. I got an event this weekend that I'm gonna probably forget to take pictures at, and thankfully I'll be able to go on Facebook and look at everybody else's pictures.
Now, don't get me wrong. If like, oh my God, it's you, we got to take a picture together. Like that does happen. But like, I can't tell you how many times I was like, oh yeah, I went to that thing and it was really cool looking. Probably should have taken a photo of that. That would have been nice. No.
Yeah. I forget which guest I had on. They talked about they're a photographer and they said sometimes they're trying not to live through the lens. So it's enjoying that moment. And there are certain things that you just cannot experience through pictures. Like a picture would not be able to show what an amazing time we've had tonight. And I thank you for joining me on FrazlCast. How was that for a transition?
Thank you so much for having me. You are a master's class all on your own on those transitions. I cannot tell you how, like every time you pull one off, I'm like, how does he keep doing it? He just keeps doing it.
Episodes.
This has been a ton of fun. I really enjoyed myself. I'm sorry for rambling. I know you had I'm looking at the show notes, and as I'm like at minute 17 of some nonsense story I'm telling, I'm seeing that you're like deleting questions because I know, man, I do shows too. I know how hard the time constraints can be. So I'm sorry to put you in that position, but I can't tell you, I had a fantastic time tonight.
Oh, and that's one of the things I've learned as I go along in like different podcasts. Over prepare, and then as you're going through, see where the story's weaving. So I'm a story weaver. I can get you through the night. So where can I find you on the interwebs?
The easiest place to find me is on Twitter, twitter.com/ABonusLevel. I'm also frequently found on the CTR Discord. My username over there is Barfolomew because of my Paladin and Convert to Raid in World of Warcraft. That's sort of how the World of Warcraft community knows me. You can also head over to twitch.tv/ABonusLevel for a variety stream that focuses on a lot of console gaming, a little bit of PC stuff. I'm not going to lie to you. There's probably going to end up being a Borderlands 3 show with Silverbolt sometime down the road when that game comes out.
Nice.
We never did finish the co-op for Portal 2, so we got to get that going. Once we get the stream schedule settled, I'll tweet out the details on my Twitter about when the shows are going to be and what the focus on them is going to be. But historically, the show has been a variety stream that one night will focus on retro gaming and one night will focus on Mario and specifically, and one night will focus on Zelda games specifically. I played through the majority of my collection for Zelda and Mario games. So we're going to have to figure out what the next step is here. But that's kind of the flavor you can expect to see over on twitch.tv/ABonusLevel. In addition, the other thing that we did was twitch.tv/ConvertedPodcast every other Monday at 9 Eastern, 6 Central. That's the Convert to Raid Guild's podcast. That is a community spotlight show where we bring on a guest from the community to talk about what they've been into, what their raid team looks like, whether or not their team is recruiting, or like big community members, like people like Frazley here, who was just on this past Monday and had a great interview where we talked about all manner of nonsense. That's a fun time. I look forward to it every other week. It's tremendous. So those are the big places where I am.
Nice. Well, I think I'm going to head over to Ironforge because did you hear they've opened up a DDR station and a Beat Saber club? It's over in the Gnomes ward.
In Tinkertown?
In Tinkertown. Do you want to go with me?
Yes, I'm there.
Activating customized Corpus A transporter.
Well, I am back in my home of Ironforge until we one day reclaim Gnomergon.
Let's look at what has been happening in the community.
Let's do that. So the Con Before the Storm Kickstarter keeps rolling along. They have raised over $36,000 so far. The $35,000 stretch goal for a free spin of the wheel was reached. You must be in attendance, so please go on and spin the wheel for me and let me know what you won. The next goal was for $39,000 and will mean an expanded art gallery with more art on display and more art giveaways. The Kickstarter has until June 15th, so go on out and support this awesome event. And don't forget that Recruit a Friend is going on hiatus on June 11th. Only a little bit more time to get your rewards before the current system goes away. It will return, but no one knows which of the rewards will return. So be like a swift zebra and get those rewards now. With Classic just having had its first stress test and people enjoying the beta, there is a ton of awesome news regarding the community around Classic. Wildhead has announced that their Classic database is now available in Russian, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, and Chinese. There's a language dropdown in the top right corner of pages at classic.wildhead.com. I've been using the Thoughtbot skin when on the Wildhead Classic site. It looks really cool. And the Classic WoW subreddit has reached 100,000 subscribers. It's exciting to see the popularity and excitement for Classic ramping up. And along with that popularity, Vanilla Friends has popped up. This is a site where you can register your vanilla character name, which realm and guild it was in. I'm trying to find anyone that remembers a dwarf priest named Broden in the Storm Age US guild Militus Justica. I posted there, so we'll see who remembers me. And finally, Wowhead has updated their client to now support Classic WoW for uploading data to improve the accuracy on the Classic WoW site. Oh, and this will be a sideline reporter for the Mythic Dungeon International Spring Finals for June 7th, 8th, and 9th. This is awesome, so definitely check out the MDI. They had a Thist, Automatic Jet, Sloot, Nagura, Sours, and Cyronic. Well, that's been another packed episode of FrazlCast. A few last minute things before you go. I want to give you an update that Mitch of Blizzard Watch has posted on Monday about Red Pally Jill. She is out of ICU and she is still recovering. We miss you, Jill, but glad to hear that you are recovering. We cannot wait to hear from you soon. I got a tweet from Crush that they enjoyed episode 106 with the Blizzmates. They said that Allie and the Blizzmates are a hoot, and I agree. I had a great time with them. I linked to the post show of that episode in the show notes for episode 106. You don't want to miss it. Lots of expired salad dressing like a lion, drinking wine. The dressing and drink on that post show was from 2013. I wonder, is this how superheroes are made? Watch out for Bacon Ranch French dressing, man. And I'm on a new weekly podcast with Pete, or Titan Screed as he is known in the Dragon Powered Studio Discord. It is called Stories Around Azeroth, and it is now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. This is a weekly show where we talk about what we are doing in Azeroth, as well as a news topic of that week. This has been an honor to be asked to be a co-host for this. It is really weird getting into a podcast with the same person each week. I know there have been the Ali and Zorch marathon weeks, but this is my first time being a co-host of another WoW-focused podcast. And I don't have to edit it. I've got a link in the show notes to our first episode. The topic is about Classic. And I like to take a time each episode to thank my Twitch subs out there. Thank you to Michael of the Blue Recluse and Nerd This Podcast. Thank you to Nerdy Grandpa. Thank you to Razurus. Thank you to Smashosaurus. Thank you to Speaker for Dead. Thank you to Thorn of Liking Balls and BNN. Thank you to Zorch the Goblin. And thank you to Nihar. And also thank you to Velasella for the bits this week. If you want to support the show with a Twitch sub, go to support.gnomepodcast.com. And you can also buy a shirt at gnomeshirt.com. All of these bits, subs, and shirts go to help supporting this labor of love. Well, I am Frazley, and you can find the show at gnomepodcast.com. So until next week, be awesome.
Look both ways before crossing Buxley. Buxley here to answer your World of Warcraft questions in this edition of Ask Buxley. This question is about scary things. Dear Buxley, what's the scariest group you've ever encountered? By far, the most sinister, scariest creatures I've ever encountered are the Tortolans. Yeah, I know what you're saying. You're saying, those Tortolans are great. And you know what? I have to apologize because I overheard you say that last time you were out adventuring, and I totally wasn't listening to your conversations. And for the record, you'll have to speak up next time because you don't whisper loud enough. But those turtles, scary, scary, scary. You know Scroll Sage Nola? A turtle made it to the water, right? Save the turtles from the crabs and the seagulls, right? That's all fine. Yeah, but the next time you see her, she's all about letting the crabs get the turtles. So she has you go on this homicidal rampage against the turtles. And then when you're done, she turns around and goes, oh, but I really like the turtles better. That's crazy behavior. In the shell matching game from Collector Kojo, 2 things about that. First, he puts a giant scroll in front of your face, blocking your view so you can't see all what craziness is going on behind there to divert your attention, right? No witnesses, see? And then, just to make sure you don't talk, he threatens you. Oh, it's not an outright threat. No, they're subtle. He goes, match the things under the shells. And you know what do you find? You find drops of blood, drops from dead things, and even mini turtles. I mean, what's a turtle doing collecting turtles? As some kind of weird trophy. All I'm saying is, be careful of the Tortolans. Thanks for your question. If you'd like to see what I'm up to every day, follow Ask Buxley on Twitter. You can listen to the archives at AskBuxley.com. Watch out for the Tortolans!
Hey, FrazlCast listeners, Allie here. Do you enjoy Warcraft dungeons? Ever wonder what the stories are behind them? I've got you covered. Check out Dungeon Fables, a delicious, bite-sized podcast about these stories. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. Take care.
Oh, I'm Frazzly the Reporter Gnome. I'm Frazzly the Reporter Gnome. I make you facepalm because I like to make you facepalm. I'm Frazzly the Reporter Gnome. And this is the Fraz Report, and I am Frazzly Sparkspan, and here is your short report about World of Warcraft. WoW Classic Beta has begun! So we know that Classic is coming on August 27th, and the betas have already gone out. People are having a great time, and we got news about what's going to be happening for the World of Warcraft Anniversary event. If you log in during the anniversary event, you will get a little Nefarian. But if you take up the challenge and go and get some of the best bosses in the World of Warcraft, you will get a Deathwing mount. You can finally be on the spine of Deathwing and not have to dance around. Unless you want to. If you want to dance, that's up to you. And there is a collector's edition where you can get a Ragnar statue, fine art prints, a map of World of Warcraft that has a mouse pad, and 2 in-game mounts. But sadly, something must have happened. The collector's edition is experiencing shortages. That must be Pluto!
I'd gladly pay you today for an expansion in October.
So I made a tier list of the best collector's edition. So if you look over... Wait, this is an audio report and you can't see my tier list. Ah, phooey. Well, and you know what? Save haven. So Sourfang has shown us that Thrall is back. Yeah, baby. So there is an amazing cinematic called Safe Haven where Sourfang visits Thrall. Oh, this looks amazing. This is a cinematic that is going to show us where 8.2 is leading. And speaking of 8.2, the PTR for 8.2 is racing along like a gnomish Mechanostrider, and we have news about 8.2.5. So goblins and worgens are the next races to receive heritage armor. And what we understand is this is also going to be tying in with them getting their new models finally. Will worgens finally have tails? And they're even saying that goblins are going to look a little bit more buff in the new models. I mean, except for Gallywix, who's kind of letting himself go. Oh, I hope Gallywix isn't one of the sponsors of the show. If so, Gallywix, you're looking amazing. Oh, yes. Well, I guess I got to go to Olive Garden. I hope they've got spinach. So until next time, be awesome. FrazlCast is a fan podcast that covers Blizzard games. We are not affiliated with Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. Views expressed by the host and guests are their own. Some of the art, music, and sound effects come from Blizzard Games and are owned by Blizzard Entertainment, Inc. No copyright infringement is intended.
This show is brought to you by Dragon Powered Studio. Find more at dragonpoweredstudio.com.
Okay, I'll see you later.